Once you have applied the appropriate mates to put together all the components of the assembly, you can also create a view in which the assembly will appear exploded. To do that, you have to activate the Exploded View tool, which can be found in the Assembly ribbon. At this point, I have to mention that an exploded view is an independent view and by no means it affects the mates that have been applied to the assembly. Now let's move on to an example. As you can see in the open document, I have already applied the appropriate mates to the parts of the assembly and now the object is complete. I will activate the Exploded View tool to create an exploded view of this assembly. Once I do, the Property Manager palette activates automatically. I will select the part 1 and notice that the 3 axes appear. I will click on the Y-axis and while holding the click down, I will move the part downwards. In the Exploded Steps field appears the first step of the explosion. Right below in the Distance field, I can specify the specific distance for the step. I can also specify a rotation angle. At this point, I will click on the Done button to apply the step. Now I'm ready to select the next part. I will hold down the Control key and I will select both copies of part 3. Then I will select the Z-axis and I will type the number 35 in the Distance field. I will click on the Add Step button and notice that the parts were moved 35 mm on the Z-axis. However, as you can see, this distance is not enough. To increase the distance, I will select the Explode Steps 2 from the existing Explode Steps field and I will change the distance value to 65 mm. I will click on the Done button and the parts move even further apart. Now I will select all the screws simultaneously. Once I select them, I will click on the Y-axis, I will type the number 100 in the Distance field, and I will click on the Add Step button. Finally, I will select the part 2, I will click on the Y-axis, I will type the number 40 in the Distance field, and I will click on the Add Step button. Now I have created all the steps I need to create the exploded view. So I will click OK to deactivate the tool. I will orbit the view to show you the result. At this point, I should mention that I can restore the assembly to its original state, I can edit the exploded view, or even create other exploded views. To do this, I will go to the Configurations palette. I will expand the Assembly 1 configurations and then I will also expand the default subcategory. There I can see the Exploded View 1. If I right-click on it and select the Collapse option, the assembly is restored to its original state. If I right-click on the Exploded View 1 and select the Explode option, then the assembly appears exploded again. In addition, if I right-click on the default option and select the New Exploded View, the assembly appears in its original state and in the Property Manager palette appear again all the options we need to create a new exploded view. In this example, I will click on Close because I do not wish to create another exploded view. Finally, if I right-click on the exploded view I created and select the Animate Explode option, then I can see the animation of the explosion. Once the animation finishes, the animation controller appears and I can click on Play to see the animation again. In addition, if I click on the previous step and next step, respectively, I can see the explosion of the assembly step by step. Next to those buttons, there are the playback mode options. With the normal option active, the animation plays from the beginning to the end one time. With the loop mode active, the animation plays continuously beginning to end until you click stop. While with the reciprocate option active, the animation plays continuously beginning to end and then end to beginning until you click stop. You can also slow down the speed of the playback if you click on the slow play button, or increase the speed of the playback if you click on the fast play button. Last but not least, I can save the animation as a video file. Once I click Save, the corresponding window appears, so I can browse my computer, find the folder I want to save the video, set a name, and save it. In the Save As Type field, I will select the AVI type. In the Image Size and Aspect Ratio options, I can specify the size of the video. I can manually set values to the width and height fields respectively, or I can expand the Custom Aspect Ratio list and select one of the available options. It's important to remember that with the Fixed Aspect Ratio option active, the original proportions of the model image when you change the height and width are retained. So this is an option that we usually want active. In the Frames per Second field, I can set the number of frames per second in the saved animation. The less the frames, the slower the motion. I will type the number 5 in this field and I will click on Save. Once I do, the video compression window appears. I will expand the compressor list and I will select the desired compressor. Right below, I can set the compression quality by adjusting the slider. With the keyframe every selected, I can also specify how many frames will appear between the keyframes. In this example, I will change the compression quality to 100 and I will deactivate the keyframe every option. At this point, I will click OK to compress the video. This procedure may take a while depending on the quality of the compression and the number of frames we want to export. Look how fascinating it is! Now you can create your own assemblies and also create your own videos to present your work.